We have Matt Brown from Extra Points back with us here in San Diego. He's been a great resource for our listeners over the years. And I need to find out the answer to this story because you've been all over the re-release of EA Sports College Football, which we've last seen about a decade ago. So Matt Brown, who's got his Extra Points newsletter, it's an amazing resource for those that cover or are interested in college athletics. You've become like a de facto insider for this EA Sports College Football video game as well. So first of all, Matt, thank you. Secondly, how did this transpire? How did you become known for providing this information over the course of the last year or so?
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been kind of a surreal journey, honestly, because my publication is not primarily a publication about video games. I played this game just as much as I think everybody else in their late 30s did. This was a big part of my college experience, but I'm not a capital G gamer, and this isn't my editorial focus. But I do write a lot about the business of college athletics, and part of that includes writing about licensing, writing about intellectual property, and producing new products. And back in 2021, I was filing some open records requests. Actually, I believe in the Mountain West Conference for schools that were launching licensed beer. As a way of maybe making a little bit of extra revenue, and one of those email dumps, here's the microbrewery we're working with, here's some emails to the states, and also here's the project proposal for the new college football game, complete with release date and licensing tiers and a bunch of 6 pages of information. So I got that and realized, oh my God, this is way more interesting than beer. We're pivoting to this, and kind of learned that there was a lot of information about this development process you can learn through open records requests, which I sent out everywhere for a good year until I was able to build better relationships with CLC, with Learfield, with school licensing personnel, and then eventually with EA. And so now, I can file the FOIL, but I can also call a couple of developers, or I could call people on the comm side and get the context behind that. So it's been fun. It's been exciting to see how this coverage resonates with so many people. But it is kind of a weird juxtaposition because all the thousands of people that subscribe today, like, I'm really glad you're here, but I'm going to write about like house settlements next week. This is not IGN.
Yeah. And that was what I was going to ask is why is there or in your opinion, why is there so much interest with this new EA Sports College Football game coming up here?
I think it's a combination of a couple of different factors. I mean, there's actually a surprisingly large amount of interest from school personnel, from ADs and associate ADs, and even people that really haven't played, video games since solitaire, because they recognize that this is an enormous marketing vehicle. It's so difficult for so many universities to get in front of Gen Z, to get in front of consumers, younger than 25. These are the people that they're really struggling to convert into football fans. And a big way to reach these users, these consumers, is through games. And if San Diego State's new stadium looks in all of its new PS5 glory in this game, that's a free commercial to millions of people, which the universities are very excited about. You also have, I think, the nostalgia factor, right? There's this whole generation of people that spent a lot of time playing these games in high school, a lot of time in college, their early 20s. Then once you hit your mid to late 30s, your 40s, you get mortgages and back pain and bills. And we all kind of look, fondly at those times when our biggest responsibility was winning a national championship with Hawaii. And so having this game, lets you kind of, go back in time a little bit. And there's a lot of pent up consumer demand, right? This game didn't go away because it wasn't profitable. It went away because the NCAA and the NCAA member institutions wouldn't allow athletes to be paid for their NIL. So EA couldn't make the game. There's always been millions of people that have wanted to play it, and now they're going to get an opportunity to do so in a different way now that it's on more powerful video game systems.
If you're looking for more information, by the way, on the release of this game coming up in July, Matt Brown's an amazing resource at Matt Brown EP on X or Twitter, at Matt Brown EP. You can find out more information about his newsletter as well. I know it's been released now within the last week or two about how much revenue the athletic departments will be receiving for being a part of this game, right? There were like different tiers of revenue coming in based on the successes of these football programs over the last decade. I noticed there were 4 tiers. San Diego State's in the 2nd tier, and they're going to receive something like $59,000 or $60,000. For a program outside the Power Five, when they're receiving revenue for a video game that, let's say, is $60,000, is that considerable? Is that sizable? Is that something that's advantageous for programs in the Mountain West and beyond?
Oh, I mean, on one hand, especially in a world where everyone's going to be on the hook for this house settlement back payment, and schools like San Diego State are going to be in a really challenging position as they decide how much revenue they want to share directly with athletes, and their cost of business is going up. All revenue is important. Nobody's going to look $60K in the mouth and say, we don't want it, because $60K is salary and benefits for Adobo and some travel and some software and a whole bunch of stuff. In the grand scheme of things, even at a Mountain West school, is $60,000 a lot of money? No. And in fact, nobody really makes that much money directly from the video game. Even these tier one institutions, I think, are actually going to make a little bit under 100,000. The major benefit for a school like San Diego State for participation in this project is about recruiting, and it's about university branding and university marketing. It is a way to make more people in California, more people in Arizona, and more people in markets that export college students aware of this university, this football program, and this brand. And that will be worth far more than $60K in earned media marketing.
All right, Matt. So you played the game, right?
I did.
What can people expect?
Well, I would say that if you're like a hardcore sports gamer, and especially you played a lot of the last couple of NCAA games, I would tell you, like, gameplay wise, you're going to have to unlearn some of those behaviors.
Okay.
A lot of the core mechanics have been updated. You're not going to be able to cheese through the game running read options and quarterback sprints and kind of storing across your body. The AI has gotten better.
Yeah.
and the mechanics have gotten better. Like, I think I threw 3 interceptions my first game. Again, not capital G gamer. The two biggest takeaways that I had, and we can get into more specifics if you want, are that this is a fundamentally different product than Madden. Whether you like Madden or dislike Madden for whatever reason, this is a different development team, different physics, different animations. It does not play like Madden for good or for ill. It feels faster, and it feels much more college football oriented. And that's the second big takeaway, is that this was a game, and I say this with love, not pejoratively. This was a game made by college football sickos. And they put a lot of that love in the presentation and the pageantry and the kind of periphery things that make college football so unique and make college football at every campus so unique. That's everywhere in this game. You will be able to feel when you are playing a big game at Happy Valley or Death Valley or, in the Coliseum. You will notice the difference if you're playing at 11 o'clock kickoff at Purdue or at Wyoming. You will see lots of little unique traditions and cutaways and stadium renderings for every single school, unique playbooks for every single school, because as the developers told me, every school is somebody's favorite. So, if you're listening to this and you happen to rock with Sam Houston or Coastal or Kennesaw State, you're going to find that the developers spent time trying to depict what makes your place special, not just Ohio State and Texas.
Really cool. Matt Brown, Extra Points with us right now. John and Jim, San Diego Sports 760. Matt, any chance, and I know they used to have a college basketball video game back in the day as well. Is there any chance that this college football game leads to a college basketball game, especially with the way the women's game is now, highly marketed and the way it's being viewed right now? Is there a chance for a men's and or women's basketball game in the future or not?
I think there's a chance, but the math really does get more complicated. And part of that is because the major AAA college basketball games from the PlayStation 2 era were discontinued, not just because of O'Bannon, but actually because they didn't sell terribly well. The two titles between 2K and ESPN combined, or from EA combined, were selling under 500,000 copies. Video game development has become much, much more expensive than it was in 2010, 2011. And so it becomes a little bit more difficult for a major studio, especially because EA hasn't really been in the basketball business at all the past couple of years, to spend the licensing money and the game development money to recreate a game that's not likely to sell anywhere close to college football, which is, college basketball, unfortunately, in the United States is a more niche product outside of the postseason. That doesn't mean that it can't ever happen, right? I've had some people in the industry tell me, like, look, if this football game just destroys sales expectations, will we kind of revisit some of these things? Sure. What I think is more likely in the short term is for what we would call a non-AAA studio to make a college basketball game. So more an indie game, a mobile game, somebody that's not EA or 2K, making something a little bit more arcadey, maybe a little bit cheaper to get to market, to make the economics of game development a little bit more manageable than the behemoth that was EA Sports College Football.
So in your opinion, Matt, what is your favorite feature, like favorite gameplay mode of the new game?
I think I speak for a lot of people my age when I say it's the dynasty mode, right? Like the kind of fun fantasy of all of these games is to take some 1-star MAC program or lower level Sun Belt team or New Mexico State and either turn them into a powerhouse or turn them around quickly enough that you can go get a job somewhere else and kind of build your coaching career up, right? Mm-hmm. I grew up in Columbus. I have a degree from Ohio State. That was historically my favorite team. But playing as Ohio State in these games feels like cheating. It's not really fun outside of the glory of beating somebody by 200 points. So I imagine I'm going to be taking over a mid-major and then deciding, do I want to go build the next great superpower at like Rice or Tulane, or do I want to use it as a stepping stone for my college coaching career?
Final question that cannot be answered in 60 seconds. So I'll ask you to answer it in 60 seconds. What does this House settlement mean for the non-Power 5?
I'd say first, subscribe to Extra Points. It'll be easier for you to explain it there. The biggest sports radio answer I can give is there's just too many unknowns right now in terms of how that money is distributed, who gets it. But where I think you will see a lot of tension is in the non-football and non-basketball sports. Right now, the gap between the haves and have-nots is not as strong, and that is gigantic in baseball or in women's volleyball or in soccer or in some of these other sports that don't have complete headcount scholarship rules. But if we're in a world where an SEC team or UCLA can offer 30 baseball scholarships, it's going to be much, much harder for a school like San Diego State to be competitive in non-football and basketball sports. And then these kind of universities, I think, will have some difficult conversations, not just about how much do we want to invest, but at maybe the low major level, at what point is it no longer worth it to even pretend that we're doing the same thing as Alabama and USC? And those are going to be conversations that happen in June.
Great insight. Again, for college sports fans, you got to follow Matt Brown on social media at Matt Brown EP. You can learn more about his Extra Points newsletter. He's got you covered with this brand new EA Sports College Football video game coming out this summer as well. Matt, always appreciate it. Thanks for hopping on in San Diego. Hopefully we can do it again soon.
Of course. Thanks for having me on, fellas. I appreciate you guys.